Okay, Macy, the challenge is we had someone ask about what parrot they should get, given that number one, their budget's like $300 to $400, I believe, something like that. Number two, they don't have a lot of time for their parrots, just a couple hours a day. And number three, the husband has some allergies, so cockatiels aren't an option. And they've had budgies before, so they would like a different kind of parrot. What do Macy and I recommend? Hi, I'm Kaylin, the author of the Parrot Bliss Bond, available on Amazon.com. Welcome to my channel, guys. Thank you for being here. I have 22 species of parrots. If you love to be inspired about having a blissful bond with your parrot, and if you love seeing beautiful parrots, then you might be in the right place. If you are used to hanging out with us, thanks for being here. You probably know Macy, my Cape parrot. She is like a puppy dog. She just follows me around. I love her to pieces. So I really like having a parrot in my video. There's her high-pitched squeak. Come here, come here, come here. And she keeps popping out. Hopefully she'll stay. Here, do you want me to give you some pets? If I give you pets? There you go. Okay. The thing is, because this person doesn't have a lot of time to spend with their parrot, and because their budget is, I'm gonna say, low relative to the fact that most parrots are more expensive than that. Like a lot of green cheek conures are more expensive than $300 to $400. And that depends on where you are in the world, or if you're in the US, where you are in the US. Every state's different, that kind of thing. But relatively speaking, I think $300 to $400 is going to cut off a lot of species. When I look at the species that are under $300 or $400, I feel like it just comes down to a handful. And if you have some other suggestions, I would really appreciate if you'd post below, because like I said, this person's looking for a parrot. So given that they don't have a lot of time, given the budget, I think that they should, number one, really look at getting two parrots. Parrots are highly social animals. And if they're by themselves all night, and then most of the day while you're at work, that is going to create a situation in which a parrot is going to probably and very likely be pretty unhappy. Why? Because in the wild, they're used to spending 24/7 with their flock. And even if they're not with the whole flock that 24/7, they're usually within range of hearing their mate 24/7. So basically, parrots really rely on the flock for their well-being, for the safety in numbers, for the fact that when one member finds food, now they all get to share the food. I mean, there's a lot of safety and security involved, and therefore a lot of well-being involved in not being alone. Plus, there are feathers on the back of a parrot's head that they themselves can't reach, and so their mate tends to help them out with those feathers. It's not to say that a parrot can't be alone. It's just to say that you're really going to increase your parrot's chance of well-being and their social skills when they're not alone. What do I mean by that? A parrot that's alone is going to become asocial, good or bad. They're going to become asocial. They're going to possibly become needy and like be dying for your attention when you do have time to give them. Or maybe they're going to become like completely unable to deal with you because they don't develop the social skills, because most of the time they're not with you or with another parrot. I find that if I spend some time with my parrots and they're not alone, they don't become that imbalance on the social scale. They tend to stay more in balance, and it tends to create a situation where when I do come to spend time with the two of them, they both tend to do well with me. So now we're a flock of three. Most of the time it's just the two of them, and that's fine. It doesn't seem to bother them. But when they're by themselves, they really don't develop the social skills, and it's just a real difference, and it can be problematic for them. Now, that's not to say that you can't get another bird and that they won't develop the social skills later on, but I am telling you that the earlier you start them with a buddy, usually the better it is. Now, given that, I'm going to recommend too, given the budget and given the time restrictions and the fact that cockatiels are out, I'm going to say that, of course, budgies are phenomenal, phenomenal birds. They are so underrated and so undervalued. They are really, when they aren't overbred, some of the smartest parrots I think around. They can have the largest vocabularies. They're just whippersnappers. Now, if you don't want a budgie, you can easily afford 2 lovebirds. I am not a huge lovebird fan. That's neither here nor there. With over 350 species of parrots, one thing that's really nice is that we can all have a favorite species, and there's kind of like a parrot for anybody kind of thing. I know, it's not to say that when you go to a pet store or an avian, like an exotic bird store, there's 350 species available. But my point is, there are a lot of species and they do tend to have different characteristics. One of my favorites is a Cape parrot. I adore Cape parrots. So it just so happens that I'm just not a huge lovebird fan. Whatever, you know, take it or leave it. Now, parrotlets. Parrotlets, depending on whether you get them from a breeder or or a really nice exotic bird store, their prices can really vary. But for $300 or $400, you might be able to get 2. So I would strongly consider that. Those are parrots. I love parrotlets. I have parrotlets. They're full of energy. They're full of enthusiasm. They think they're bigger than her. And I find that when I have 2, they do very well, and I can spend time with them. And when I spend an hour or 2 with them every day, they really are social with me and they're social with each other, so they're happy. It's a fantastic setup. And being so small, it works really well as far as space or creating, dust standard, because birds are messy, parrots are messy. So with such a small parrot, you're not going to have as big of a mess. It's going to be a lot easier, I think, on you overall. So we said parrotlets, we said lovebirds, I said don't rule out budgies, and did we say anybody else? I guess that's 3, right? Oh, linneys. I would also consider a pair of linneys. If you can find lineolated parakeets, they make the sweetest little cooing noises. They're very friendly. Some people say that they're more poopy than most parrots. I kind of feel like, I think the argument can be made for it. I don't feel like you have to be like, oh my God, they're gonna poop everywhere. Parrots can poop everywhere, but smaller birds tend to poop smaller little poops more frequently, but smaller. And so the linneys are going to poop more than a parrotlet, for example. But the linneys, I find them to be, they're a little bigger. I find them to be a little more curious, a little more friendly, a little sweeter. I think it's a adorable species. I'm actually surprised that there aren't more linneys around. I assume it's just because people don't know about them. They are phenomenal. So I would strongly recommend them as well, although you might have to get one and save your money and then get another, because they tend to be anywhere. If you get them from a breeder, you might get them for under $300. Otherwise, depending on their color, you might be paying up to $500, something like that. But well worth it, well worth saving your money and having a very special flock of 2 parrots that way. Thank you for joining me in this blissful video. If your parrot is stressed out for any reason, make sure to get Tink's must-have parrot relief on parrotbliss.com. And if your parrot isn't stressed out, consider getting it because it supports a healthy immune system and has the right balance of omegas in hemp oil, which is beneficial actually for you and for your parrot. It has the right balance. So with that, we're off flying, as you can see. Thanks for joining us in this feathered video. Please be sure to like, and I will catch you in the next one.